Truth, logic, action, power. It's the GreggHoush Show here on New Revolutionary Radio. From the Leonard School in Malden, Massachusetts, Gregg and company are here to bring a sense of ethics to your news. Whether it's politics, activism, or current events, we always seek to inform and never to deceive. Let's start the show.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 35 of the GreggHoush Show. Sitting here with my wonderful, glorious co-host, Kayla Avery.
I'm glorious now.
You are.
I like
glorious.
it.
I love the blue shirt. The vibrant,
right?
vibrant.
It breaks my eyes bluer.
No, that's not how biology works. But also, I guess at this point we're just going to say co-host since every episode. Mac.
It's the Mac Daddy. He's back in Mac. He's Return of the Mac. He's Mac to the future. He's the Mac cheesiest.
Speaking of every episode.
Every episode.
It's a delight. It
really is.
It's my favorite thing just because I can see you kind of wince.
Highlight of your day.
I could just the crow's feet go up.
So we're sitting here on a Thursday night and, if we hated ourselves, we'd still have the floor debate going with the tax debate going on the TV. But instead, we've changed the channel in the other room.
I've been listening to it all day.
Yeah.
It has been wonderful. In fact, it was... right before I turned it on, or right before it started, I was calling my reps because I was like, okay, they passed it to the debate. I'm like, all right, so how fucked are we? So I called all my my reps, and I just kind of opened up with that. I was like, all right, tell me the truth. How screwed are we? Where are we at? What's going on? And all these interns or
staffers
that are answering the phones, they kind of got caught off guard. And one was like, well, I can't really speak for the senator. I'm like, oh no, I'm not asking you to. I want to know your opinion.
Yeah.
How screwed do you think
you're closer than I am?
and then I forgot whose office it was, but there was one young woman I was talking to on the phone, and I was like, I just don't get the world, and all I want to do is punch Paul Ryan in the face. And she's like, oh my God, so do I.
Nice.
I mean, who isn't with you on that one?
Right? I love talking to the staffers.
I think we need to poll every staff for everyone there and ask if the whole staff wants to punch him in the face. See how many and see if we can get it to, because I bet it's above 80%.
We should try and do a survey by office for each congressman. And just try and get which congressman's office has the highest percentage of staff that wants to punch him. And is it Paul Ryan's own staff?
Right? I ask every time I call. I'm like, one time I think it was said, and I don't want to give the senator away and get the guy, right. But it was one of the senators of my state. And I called and I was like, okay, let's be honest. How gross is Ted Cruz's face in person? And the staffer was just started laughing. They're like, I shouldn't answer that.
Nice.
And I was like, that's all I needed to know.
Nice. So today is great times as we talk about this wonderful, giant, permanent tax cut.
I know, and depending on when you're listening to us, it could be permanent already.
It could be. Of course, all the wonderful tax cuts for, anyone but the super wealthy all slowly evaporate over the next few years.
Oh, I think my taxes, because I think I'm in the bracket that instantly goes up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of low-income people
there's
who.
A bunch of.
Yeah. I think I'm in that bracket.
There are actually people in every single tax bracket.
I was calling you low-income.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wasn't saying it insultingly. I was putting you right in the bracket that I believe you're in.
I know the state wages I make.
Yes, we might live in an expensive place.
I mean, but
at your current wages, if you lived in Kansas City, you'd own a mansion. I think that's how it works.
I think I would barely get a 3-bedroom, barely.
Maybe.
But,
I had a 3-bedroom there for $800 in a nice area. It's disgusting.
But can you say nice and Kansas at the same time?
Only if you're in Johnson County. The one little area where all the rich people have concentrated themselves to stay away from everyone else. It has actually nice restaurants. If you get outside of that, everything sucks.
Yeah, but you also lived there before Sam Brownback.
I did.
Yeah, I feel like it's changed quite a bit.
It might have.
It's gotten a little more rundown.
I might have lived there in the
you might also, that area might have the only school left. We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. And it's probably a charter school at this point.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. It seems safe.
So taxes. So the
Everyone's
CBO,
favorite topic.
the CBO came out with its score, and it says, "Run for the hills. It's all over. The world is coming to an end." I believe that's what I read.
But it did say it was a little bit less than previously thought. It's only going to increase by $1 trillion.
No, that was the Joint Committee on Taxation.
Yeah,
CBO was still
1.4 trillion.
Oh, okay.
And then the Joint Committee on Taxation says that $460 billion in growth will offset that 1.4 trillion down to 1 trillion. So I don't understand how any Republican voting anyone really could possibly think this is a good idea. Like all the Republicans I know always scream about the deficit. Well, currently, your Republican senators are about to pass something that will increase the deficit by $1 trillion.
Including basically every single one of the ones that talks nonstop about the deficit.
Yeah. I mean,
look
at the names on the
there
bill.
are new talking points about the deficit because, like, I remember one of the Sunday shows. They I forgot who brought it up, but I think it was George Stephanopoulos. They brought up, like, what about increasing the deficit? You guys were all anti-deficit for 8 years. He goes, it's funny now that the Democrats always wanted to increase the deficit, and now that like we want to do it, they're like, oh, we can't increase the deficit. It's like, no, that's actually quite the opposite.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
That's how I just don't know what fantasy land these people.
Ironically, the Democrats that do actually talk about the deficit, like it actually like matters on its own, as opposed to, hey, we're increasing the deficit by spending money on stupid shit. The ones that are actually like, no, we need to not have a deficit, are the conservative Democrats that are the ones most likely to support all of these shitty provisions.
And increase military spending.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's like military.
That just goes without saying.
Yeah, it's like increased military spending is like attached to like everything that they touch in like every like bill that they propose. And what was interesting was that the Democrats tried to propose an amendment earlier today that guaranteed that the tax cuts would be a raise in the minimum on wages. Like, so they were like proposing, like it was an amendment that said, this is a guarantee that these tax cuts will increase wages, and all 52 Republicans voted no.
Shocking.
Yeah.
And
that's like their talking point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they're also busy going out there being like, oh, this benefit for families that's scheduled to go away will obviously never go away. Also, the assessments of how much this will increase the debt are clearly not underestimated because that provision will totally go away.
90% of the counties, or the counties that are going to be losing almost all of their ACA, Obamacare insurers, voted for Trump. So all of the people that voted for Trump voted someone in who is now pushing through taking away their health care.
Which in that part, I don't understand how they're like able to like. They're trying to do this through reconciliation, and like, I thought reconciliation had to be budget neutral, and I thought you couldn't legislate. Like, so I don't understand what happened to the rules.
I think you're confused. That was pre-2016 rules. Nothing makes sense, and the rules don't apply now. So they just do whatever the fuck they feel like.
Oh, okay. So like, rules don't matter. Okay, got it. What about laws? Do laws matter?
Have you been paying any attention whatsoever? They pretty obviously don't.
Oh, okay, great. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Nothing matters.
Just whether they're going to get reelected by their base or not.
And just remember, this is totally going to this is the tax bill that's totally not going to benefit the rich, even though it eliminates the alternative minimum tax and basically eliminates the estate tax and, all these taxes that only affect the rich. Meanwhile, CBO scoring says that by 2019, Americans earning under $30,000 a year would be net losers. By 2021, those earning under $40,000 would be net losers. And by the end of the CBO scoring in 2027, Americans earning under $75,000 a year would be net losers. So this tax bill is really bad for, well, seemingly everyone that isn't in like the top 5%, and quite frankly, a lot
of the country,
them,
their taxes will go up.
Well,
or at least won't go down.
Orrin Hatch used to be poor, so he does not believe any of those words you just said.
That's what he says.
That's what he's been saying.
Look, in terms of his mental competency, I would still give him a rating of poor.
Yeah. Oh man, like he was like, I listened to him on like talk on the floor earlier, and it's just like he keeps like trying to drive this home like this is some type of like defending argument of of math. Like the math is just not on your side, bro. And he's like, I used to be poor. And he's like, but you're not anymore. And you wrote this bill and the numbers don't help the poor. Like it's in black and white.
I mean, the stuff that people aren't even talking about on TV as you're watching this or in any of the big news articles that are really important are, this bill limits the ability of owners of pass-throughs to report income as profit to take advantage of the pass-through advantage. That actually will affect, smaller business more than bigger business. But a lot of small business does that type of thing. But
yeah,
the thing
but
that's
it
big,
only limits it.
You know who's going to help a lot because he's got a lot of pass-throughs? ISA. Daryl
it's
ISA.
actually,
Right, but
the limit only is specifically compared to the House bill. So it's actually not, it's not something that's particularly bad compared.
Right, but then we get to the bad, which is, it moves the corporate tax system from worldwide to territorial, where American businesses are taxed on U.S. profits, not overseas profits.
Right, and then they get to repatriate all that money at a one-time super low rate that, they probably won't even bother doing then.
Oh, and then
but
overseas
hundreds
money,
of billions that Apple has overseas, it wouldn't be taxed, and for profits made over there, and then they could bring it back really cheap here, so avoiding most taxes.
Yep. Or they could just
so it's
reinvest.
just moving the loopholes from one place to another place.
Oh yeah, and they could just take all those hundreds of billions that they have stashed overseas, reinvest them overseas to generate more profits. And
not
take
pay
all
US
of
taxes
that
on
money and repatriate all of it to the U.S. without paying a single dime in taxes.
Oh, this is going to help the poor so much.
Oh, yeah.
I can just feel it. I can just feel all of their money just getting more.
But
it's going to trickle down all over them.
Yeah, it's going to trickle all over their face, all over their bodies. It's just going to be amazing.
But they want to help the poor. You see, they're almost doubling the non-refundable portion of the child tax credit they want to add compared to the House bill from $600 to $1,000. Oh, wait. Non-refundable. That means it only helps the people that are paying enough in federal taxes to not be wiping out their tax liability in the first.
So it only helps people with money.
Yeah.
Oh, so like not the poor, like Orrin Housh said. Interesting. So it's funny though, not funny, haha, but like just this is the state we're in. So when Orrin Housh had the floor, Sherrod Brown called him out on the CHIP program that they have failed to reauthorize, and said, if you really want to help the poor, why aren't we voting on CHIP right now? And Orrin did almost try to slap him away, even though he was not near him. He just did this. He's like, we're gonna get to CHIP. I think we're going to get there. This is what we're doing right now, and this is gonna help the American people. And then Sherrod just tried to kept interjecting, just being like, yeah, but CHIP would help people today. And because my state's already sending out letters saying that you are losing your health insurance soon. So why can't we vote on that first? And he was like, I have the floor.
Good times.
I mean, Orrin Housh is a very confused man.
Well, we know by the time we're done recording, it's passed, right?
Yeah, that is a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I keep looking at my phone because who knows if they're going to try to pass this in the dead of night. They most likely are. Same with the ACA. I don't even know if they've really even unveiled the full bill yet. I think they keep leaking out bits and pieces.
Thought we had a copy of the bill. I mean, we definitely had enough that various organizations have been able to do an analysis of the provisions.
Yeah, but I don't know if they've actually released the full bill to the Democrats, because only the Republicans have seen most of this. So I think they're doing it in the same way that they did the ACA, where the final bill that they were voting on got passed out 30 minutes before the vote was scheduled. I mean, it's just.
So we'll see whether they pass this atrocity, which is just a direct tax cut to the wealthy or not.
What blows my mind, but what just doesn't it's one of those things where it's why is this happeing? It's Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins.
Because the rich getting richer,
but
and
Lisa
they
Murkowski
have
and Susan Collins, right? They both were
they want to get reelected, so they've done the things that they've done.
Yeah, but Susan Collins isn't up until 2020. But so they were both staunchly against the whole ACA repeal, right? So now that it's back in this bill,
they thought it would
why
help them
wouldn't
get
they
reelected.
be so? They're not. They've all. Susan Collins has waffled, and now she's actually in support of the ACA repeal, or in support of this bill,
Again, that's all
even
they
though
care
she
about.
knows that it's going to repeal the mandate. And
Collins's, the last I'd heard was
she put out a statement saying that she was actually now in favor of it, or leaning towards it.
Then after
it was like last night, or something like that.
Anything about that?
But I mean, she says she sees some problems with it, and then like Murkowski's on board with it, and like, but it's like those are also two of the senators.
They have no morals. They don't care.
But listen to this though. After when we killed the ACA, they went home. They flew back home, and they got like dozens of people, if not hundreds of their constituents, like applauding them and like embracing them when they got off the plane, like knowing that they saved their health care.
Right, the thing is, they don't care.
But
they think it's hidden deep enough in this bill that their constituents aren't smart enough. They think their constituents aren't smart enough to put the two together, that they caused a problem on this one. So they're going to vote for it because they don't actually care. They're just doing whatever they think gets them reelected when reelection comes up. They don't care.
I can't wrap my head around that. It just doesn't work. That's not how humans are supposed to be.
The one that blows my mind isn't Susan Collins or Lisa Murkowski, because quite frankly, while they have broadly been against the Obamacare repeal, it was Corker, specifically because of the quote.
Oh, I would.
If we could take the individual side of this, throw it in the trash can, and take it directly into the incinerator, is what he wanted. But then he said that he was willing to swallow the individual side, which to me is not what it needs to be, to get the business side, as long as we're not increasing deficits. Now, I mean, there's
Didn't
a bunch
he also say he wouldn't increase the deficit by a dime?
Yes, but you know perfectly well that he's going to end up voting for this. Like there's no real chance from what he said. Like he's saying this as long as we're not increasing deficits, as though this bill doesn't obviously increase the deficit by over $1 trillion. Like he basically is saying, oh, hey, half of this bill is garbage and should be thrown in the garbage, and then the garbage can thrown in the incinerator, but I'll vote for it anyway, as long as it doesn't do this thing that it expressly does.
Yeah, I mean...
What?
Because again, they don't care.
But here's the other
they
thing, too.
are just going to help their rich donors, and they don't give a fuck about the American people.
But they also get paid through taxes, so how do they think
they get paid more by all the other stuff they do, and they get paid way more by the revolving door if they get out and go do something else.
It doesn't matter if taxes, like the taxes have nothing to do with how much or whether they get paid. If the U.S. didn't collect a single dollar of tax revenue, they would still finance government operations through debt, and every member of Congress would get their salary.
So again,
they would be literally like the first people paid.
Because they're not good people.
I can't.
Our current system doesn't encourage many good people to go through it. And good people who start at the bottom and work their way to that level usually get destroyed by the system by the time.
Yeah, because willpower corrupts.
Yeah, and our system is unbelievably corrupted. So they just don't care. They're going to screw us all. So on that wonderful note, let's move on to a happier subject. What we are referring to as Sexual Abuse Awareness Month.
Or I think it's just sexual abuse training at this point. Yeah, we're learning.
What the?
We're learning to keep your fucking pants on, man. Like seriously, like I don't understand what is it like these old ass men just walking around without pants on at work. I don't know, like what episode of Mad Men did they learn that from?
All of them. I mean, like, isn't that just like the whole show?
I think you have the causality there backwards. What do you think inspired Mad Men?
I mean, like, where it's not the 60s anymore. I thought people put pants on.
Orrin Hatch thinks it's still the 1860s. What are you talking about?
That's only because he doesn't know where he is.
I'm not disputing that.
So on what I will refer to as the left, we have Conyers, and boom, gone. Said he's out.
Well, he didn't step. He only stepped down from the his ranking chair.
He also said that he's not running for re-election.
Okay.
And he's also in the hospital now.
Yeah, because of exhaustion.
And then we have Matt Lauer. The second things come out, and the first thing we all heard about it was literally the notice that he was fired. And Al Franken is a little interesting. We've got a lot of groping, a lot of kissing. What doesn't seem to be like any actual sex acts other than, above the clothes kind of stuff.
Still not okay.
But he hasn't run and fled yet. But the ones who obviously did way worse are gone, right? But then on the right, We have people defending Roy Moore who not only did it, but did it with children.
And
so how are they the moral people? How are they the side of God?
It's also very interesting because, you look at what happened. Al Franken gets accused and his response is, well,
instant apology too.
I'm super
instant, I mean 2 days late.
Yeah, but he openly said that, he believes that people should listen to women accusers. He didn't want to undermine that. And boy, I'm sorry to all these people that I failed, blah, blah, blah. You look at Conyers and you get the shittier example where he's like, oh, but, in the settlement, I denied any wrongdoing. Or, oh, but she voluntarily dropped her. And then you look at Roy Moore and he's like, this is Democrats pushing a liberal agenda. They're liberals. They don't hold conservative values. They're the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender who want to change our culture. They're socialists who want to change our way of life and put man above God. And the government is our God. Boy, what a striking difference in tone, even compared to Conyers.
So I was mentioning this before the show. So we all know, thanks to the GOP Tennessee, the Russian bot Twitter account that somehow had the document of Conyers' settlement. So he settles for $27,000. Okay, well, we also know that more than $15 million has been paid out through sexual harassment claims on the Hill. So where are the
tax money,
right? The tax dollars that we're no longer going to get.
You would think with Franken and
but where's
Conyers
the rest of the 14
well,
14
you would think
million?
with these people, especially Franken, who's really been upsetting the right a lot lately, you would think with them on the ropes here that all of the Republicans in the Senate would be screaming to high heaven that they have to leave, and they're not. Why aren't they?
Oh, because there's over $14 million of settlements paid out that still we don't know where they went to.
Maybe they don't want it to happen to them because
or maybe
they're just as
they
bad.
have a heavy side of it.
Maybe.
Or maybe not just as bad, but in fact, way, way worse.
Oh, absolutely way worse.
Well, that's not a fact we know yet. That's just
Ted
an
Cruz
assumption.
is on the right side. We know it's going to be way worse.
Also, just based on the history of Republicans getting in trouble for sexual misconduct compared to the history of Democrats, from what is public knowledge, holy crap, it looks like the Republicans are 30 times worse.
Well, a Republican state legislator just pled guilty to child porn trafficking in Kansas, who was also the Kansas Trump campaign chair.
That was sex trafficking.
He pled guilty,
yes.
Child porn trafficking.
We knew about that story shortly after it happened.
Yeah, so
before the plea and everything.
Well, yeah, he pled today. The plea agreement was filed today, but so it's and there was another, I think, Texas state legislator that got caught having sex with a man in the office.
No, that was Ohio, I think, or Indiana.
I don't know where it was, but I know it was a state, a Republican state legislator, and but he was also one of the the staunch anti-LGBTQ legislators, and he was having sex with a man in his office, on the job.
And for some reason, one of the news stories I read about that one when that story first broke, felt the need to specify that the man was not an employee.
So
I was super confused. Just was that really an essential detail of the story?
It doesn't matter who he's having sex with.
Yeah, exactly.
He's having sex on the job.
Yeah, in his office.
Yeah, and then you've got this Joe Schmo over here who gets his dick tweeted out, and he's supposedly some victim of revenge porn, which I feel like he tweeted his own dick out.
I mean, the person that. The anonymous Twitter account that tweeted out claims that Barton has been harassing them and stuff like that. And he is outright just said that he isn't going to run again in the aftermath of this. So I feel like it probably is actually someone else going after him.
I just think that story to me is funny because it's it's unsolicited dick pics. How do you like it now, boy?
Yeah, I mean, I'd feel a lot worse if it weren't for the fact that Joe Barton is just a giant piece of shit. I mean, this specific thing, no one deserves to have happen to them. But boy, does he deserve to have bad things happen to him. So I don't feel nearly as bad as I would if he were
I really just want to point and laugh. It's all right. It's
I didn't look at the image, so I don't know.
I don't know either, but I just know
I mean, have you ever seen a photo of Joe Barton?
Yeah.
You can imagine.
You can guess.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen a small dick before, so it's
a small dick on a very fat man.
Yeah. It's a
So
thing.
technically, they like
Are you
censored
calling me fat?
No, but I feel like you might need to walk a little bit more.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, yeah, no, like my whole thing is like, where's the rest of the money like that? Where did it get paid out to? And the
We
Republican,
need transparency.
we need transparency, but the Republicans are way too quiet. Like, and if this was any other circumstance, they would be all over this. And
They would have already gotten Al Franken out of the
they
Senate.
would have had his head on a stick already.
Yeah.
But the fact that
if
it's
they
like,
weren't all scared for their own head.
yeah, because they probably know that whatever he did, they have 3 more worse charges against them and more settlements on their asses.
So after all those, today we now run into Russell Simmons, who has kind of been vocal, about his accusers over the last few weeks, in that he wasn't going anywhere, and this was kind of blown out of proportion. And then today he ups and quits all of his jobs, leaves all of his companies, and says he's out, he's done, he's going away.
I feel like there was. I mean, he also had that shitty debit card thing that he hawked to his fans that just took money from them. So it's like he's got like a kind of a track record of being kind of shitty in general, So this one doesn't really surprise me. Like, I did read the article and it was like really disgusting. Obviously,
I like what he did for music. I do not like the man.
I don't even know what he did for music. Honestly, I just know that
Def Jam Records.
Sure. I just know that he's.
He gave you the Beastie Boys.
We really have to bring them in?
No.
Because guess what?
They suck.
Someone's father of the Beastie Boys is now on his head's on the stick too.
Yeah, they suck.
I mean, just the moral of the story, men, keep your fucking pants on. Keep your hands to yourself. It's really not that hard. We're sitting here working right now, and none of you guys are sexually harassing. Like, it's possible to do that.
I don't think you'd like it. So
yeah, because it's not like you can't like sexual harassment. That would then be consent.
yeah, well, no, that you could like it and still not consent. I mean, you had like.
No,
That's true. No, you can like something and still be like, this is inappropriate.
But then that's not liking it.
No, that's understanding that it's completely inappropriate and not consenting to a thing that you might like.
I think you're getting a little too meta for fucking sexual harassment.
Yeah. So it's all bad all the time.
Keep your dick in your pants.
Seriously. I don't understand why that's hard. I mean, I don't get it.
I don't either. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I understand like when, I forget a belt in the morning and whatnot, but, then I just make sure that I'm paying attention.
Yeah, or like everyone's like occasionally gone to the bathroom and forgot to zip up.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
But why are people have buttons that lock women in their offices? Why are they just
Matt, you're gonna have to answer for that one.
We don't know that it only locked women in the office.
Yeah, it locked anyone. He just,
right.
How many times did he push it when only men were in the office with him?
We don't know the answer to
not
that.
That I have a problem if he likes men or not, just that I don't think that's what we're hearing about here.
No.
I don't understand.
It's insanity. So, men out there, unless they ask for it and you're not at work, keep your pants on.
Yeah, I mean, Tiffany Haddish said it perfectly during her SNL monologue. She's like, men, if you got your thing out and she got all your clothes on, she goes, you're wrong. She's like, you wait till she takes off her clothes and then you might be able to take your clothes off.
I think they're watching all of that horrible porn stuff that started a few years ago, where it's like the clothed female, nude male crap.
Oh yeah,
that thing. Like
I don't know what the fuck.
I don't know what
I think
that
that's
is.
like. It's like
really,
this.
You don't spend enough time
type,
on the internet.
Yeah, it's this type of porn where the women are fully clothed and the men are not, and then they just barely get access and then do their thing. But I don't understand how this is hot to anyone. I don't get it. But it definitely, if you look at kind of that as a thing, that's kind of what the guys are doing. They're just dropping trow in front of women that are fully clothed and not really asking for it.
No, none of them are asking for it. That's how sexual harassment works. It's
Indeed.
it's not consensual.
Bastards.
It's just, I mean, it's all fucked up and and what's funny, not funny, haha, but it's I see these men online being like, I'm so scared of getting accused. And it's why would you feel that way if you haven't done anything?
I think that they're in their mind, they've got all these ideas about how you hit on women that are horribly wrong, and they're thinking like, I'm gonna try and hit on a girl, and then she's gonna think I was sexually harassing her.
So that's when you go, hey, all those things that I think are horribly
maybe
wrong.
Don't hit on them like that.
Maybe don't do that. Because like
How
I said,
about it?
Because I said to my dad, I made a joke with my dad, being like, oh yeah, I'm seeing people online being like, oh, I'm so scared. He goes, I'm like, are you nervous to go to work? He's like, no. Like I keep my pants on. I keep my pants on, and I don't fucking touch women at work. Because why would I be nervous?
I think we need whatever is the opposite of the pants on the ground song.
Yeah, pull your pants up. Put your dick back in your pants.
Because
keep your dick always in your pants.
We need to get that guy to do the reverse song of what he was doing there.
Like, and in fact,
can we find him?
Actually, like some men just start wearing like Depends now because like you shouldn't even take your dick out. Like I feel like you should
like
earn
add extra layers. Just to be safe.
I feel like you should earn the ability to just take your dick out just to pee. Like we have to go all the way back to the beginning with this one.
Wow. So that's just going to keep happening. I mean, it is definitely the floodgates are starting to open here.
Well, good riddance on that part. Like, I'd rather, the floodgates were open rather than it be happening in secret and us not hearing about it.
I have this weird thought about like, kind of shower thought style about like this moment when it starts to slow down and there aren't any more being reported, and whether that's because like whether we'll be able to know that's because you got most of them, or whether it's because they found a way to start shutting people up, and how we're supposed to be able to tell when it happens.
We'll know when it starts. Well, it happens because they'll stop reporting on it.
No, but what I'm saying is when they stop reporting on it, is it because most of them have been found, or is it already outed, or is it because the ones who haven't have found a way to shut everyone up?
I think it might be a mix of both.
No, I just it's been bouncing around my head. Like, when that happens,
I am concerned.
What are we going to
think? The idea that we have to hear and believe accusers, which is, of course, a very important concept, is eventually going to get misused. Someone is going to intentionally make an accusation.
So, we need to be very...
There's a woman out in California facing like 30 years for falsely accusing.
Okay, so this gets me kind of upset because, yes... do people falsely report crimes? Absolutely. Yeah. But the margin of error is 2%. There's actually, but this happens across the board. People are in jail for being falsely accused of murder.
But that's not the point. I had an actual point to make there.
I know, but it gets me so upset because I feel like we need to stop bringing that up because until it happens, which it has, but it's not happening like the myth has made us believe.
Oh, it's not happening that often. It's just happening.
But my point was that sooner or later, it's going to be used expressly for political purposes with some sort of big public interest thing in a case where it was bullshit. And
it has already before.
Then that's going to come out at some point from one of the cases where that happens. And then everyone is going to use that as a justification for why accusers shouldn't be believed at all.
But that's already the case.
I know. And I'm saying we're having this period right now where people are actually hearing and listening, and it's getting news media attention. And people are going to take advantage. Someone is going to take advantage of that sooner or later. And we're going to have something like that. And then we're going to be back to step one, like none of this ever fucking happened. And that's what I'm saying is shitty.
Yeah, no, but it's just like because a lot of times, like, yes, are people going to falsely accuse of any crime? Absolutely, because the margin of error is 2%. People are shitty.
Yeah.
But it's like we also like have actual crimes of lying where there's whole government agencies dedicated to watching people make false accusations. It's called insurance fraud. But like no one gets upset over as much as like those type of crimes than they do when it comes to like, sexual assault and like sex crimes, because the knee-jerk reaction is that women aren't to be believed. They're property. They're not incapable of the same like intelligible thought. This has been like the long Roy Moore wrote a fucking textbook that said women aren't capable of like having like office or like or holding jobs. So it's like to focus on the.
I mean, to be fair, he's only used to dealing with women under the age of 17.
Yeah, where they don't legally
legally have a point there,
yeah. But I know they aren't actually of age to like run for office.
Exactly. So he was just basing that on his limited experience.
Yeah, but it's like it's like we do have actual like problems of false accusations, none of which actually have to do with sex crimes. But everyone wants to point to that one. What if one? Sure, there's going to be one.
Of course.
But we need to start putting in place like our, systems to investigate these crimes thoroughly. It starts with believing that there's a crime.
I mean, there is the problem in the nature of allegations in these sorts of cases are often very difficult to prove. It is often just simply a case of he said, she said.
Oh, they're most often that.
But I mean, and that does make things more complex. It is very hard to definitively investigate something like that.
Yeah, but you need to start. You need to start with the thought of, okay,
statistically, she's probably not lying.
Yeah, or just say, okay, sure. Let's start with saying there is a crime happening. Okay, let's find out. Let's corroborate that crime.
Yeah, let's see what we can find out that might support or refute it.
Yeah, or see like what's out there. But it's like you still have to believe that the crime existed to support it. Like, so it's like if you go,
at least just like take the allegation seriously, as opposed to saying that it's just socialists trying to demonize your political campaign,
or it's a woman trying
bullshit.
to get get rich quick, because we all know how successful it is for a woman to come publicly.
Look, I hear that people were getting calls from the Washington Post in Alabama offering them literally perhaps in excess of $1,000 to tell this. If that isn't like enough money to like put your entire life on the line, what is?
I know.
Really?
Well, didn't
Lenny
Monica
Bernstein
Lewinsky sell purses or something afterward? And and that didn't go anywhere.
Women have created their whole fashion lines dedicated to their false accusations.
That's horrible.
Oh my God. Yeah.
These people.
I know. It's like, give me one woman that hasn't had an entire life like destroyed after publicly coming forward. You can't.
I mean, if you gave me a while, I could probably find one, but it definitely takes some research.
That's a hard one. Like that should be like on Jeopardy. Like that's a
if someone has the answer to that one.
I'll give you a hint. It's probably no one after 2004 when like the internet really took off.
Yeah, right. So that's just gonna keep happening, which is great.
Well, by keep happening, we mean people coming like getting fired for
caught, and called out,
not
and
the
named
actual
and shamed.
crimes.
Yeah, I mean, the statement still holds true as long as you take great sarcastically in the one case.
Yes. So now we move on to someone everyone should hate, James O'Keefe.
Speaking of fake
Right?
accusations,
Good timing on that.
Veritas, serial fraudster, in my opinion, absolute liar.
That's a fact that he's an absolute liar.
That's not an
you
opinion.
don't have to qualify that as a
no,
opinion.
like it's actually been substantiated to a fact.
He has also kind of been, criminally convicted of lying. Well, misrepresenting.
His Project
Veritas
hired someone to go after the Washington Post and attempt to get them to show their bias on all of these wonderful things against Roy Moore.
Yeah, they wanted to prove that it was fake by creating a fake news story.
Then that went super well for them because it turns out Washington Post does actually fact check and try to corroborate stories and do investigations and see whether the story you tell them holds together. And in this case, it just blatantly didn't.
Oh my God. When I was reading this WAPO story, like, first of all, I was like,
which one? They've turned this into 10 stories now.
I read, the first one I read because I only get 5 free articles, so I got to use them sparingly. I can't afford all of them. And I was just reading it, and the fact that it was like, it started off with like this woman like got pregnant, and they were like, "Ooh, this could be good. Like, can you help us? Like, send us some facts." And then like she's like, "Well, I don't want to talk on the phone, only email, or maybe I'll get a burner phone, and I only want to talk to you, but I need to meet you in person, only you." And then they like watched her like park at the Veritas like headquarters.
That was at like the end. They'd already had like she'd spent like a month texting this one reporter back and forth.
Yeah, wasn't she using like different burner phones or something
and
too?
And then like met them at a shopping mall, and then like was at one point they were like questioning like maybe we don't know that we can actually, I can't guarantee that we'll publish this. We have to try and corroborate. And she like talked about how she'd rather like go to another paper to talk to them.
Oh yeah, no, she mentioned that like because I think the journalist wanted to originally bring someone else to be like, hey, I need like some backup here, so because like I need to back up my story. And then she's like, well, in that case, I'm just gonna go somewhere else. and like kept like asking repeatedly, like, I need you to make sure that he's going to fail, like he's going to lose the election. And they're like, that's not how, like, that's not what we can, like, that's not how this works. We report and like he can still get elected. Like we have no control.
And yeah, their final straw was literally seeing her walking into the New York office of Project Veritas.
And that was like, was that after or before they found her GoFundMe?
I believe that was before they found the GoFundMe of hers from earlier this year, where she ended up posting on May 29th, quote, "I'm moving to New York. I've accepted a job to work in the conservative media movement to combat the lies and deceit misspelled, of the liberal MSM. I'll be using my skills as a researcher and fact checker to help our movement. I was laid off from my mortgage job a few months ago and came across the opportunity to change my career path," end quote.
So she was going to deal with the supposed liberal MSM's lies and deceit by lying and deceiving them.
Yeah. And she, in fact, told them, like, she claimed that she was had lived in Alabama for like a while way back, but hadn't lived there since she was like a kid or something, and was doing this, calling them from a number with an Alabama area code.
Oh yeah. And then like she said something about like she originally interviewed at the Daily Caller, like with someone, I think the name was like Kathy or something, like, or Judith, I don't know. And they called the Daily Caller and they're like, hey, do you have like, you know, this woman who like does interviews? And they're like, no.
Oh yeah, and they called the, I think it was a mortgage company that she said in New York that she said she worked for, and they were like, yeah, we don't have anyone by that name.
Yeah, like, and like
this is the worst. Okay, I'd say it was the worst attempt, but pretty much literally everything Project Veritas does is this shitty. They just don't usually get called out on it.
And somehow Project Veritas is a nonprofit.
They have a 501c3 tax exemption. They have almost $4 million in funding.
Over $4 million in 2016.
Yeah.
Almost $5 million.
And half of like some, I think over $1 million of it has come from the Trump organization.
Yep.
Sounds right.
He's got a criminal record. This is my favorite part about the Project Veritas James O'Keefe piece of shit, is that during the Planned Parenthood stings, the Texas AG was trying to they were trying to convict Planned Parenthood for selling baby parts, and the grand jury returned indictments for the videographers. Yep. They're like, we actually think that they're the criminals.
The criminal act here.
Like, Planned Parenthood did nothing wrong. They're definitely criminals. And that, like, if Texas is returning indictments against videographers trying to indict Planned Parenthood, you know you done fucked up.
I mean, this is, of course, James Dildo Boat O'Keefe we're talking about, so fucking up is pretty much a given.
Indeed.
Oh my God.
Could he, go the same way as Andrew Breitbart? I mean, they were such good friends.
Well, I mean, maybe someone should wait until the evening and give him a call on his personal cell phone and have that chat with him. I think we know the person to have that chat.
I think we do. We know someone really good at that conversation.
Yeah. Can someone just like put him on a plane and then like just drop him in the ocean
and then throw the ocean into the sun?
Yes. It's just like, and it's funny. It's like, not funny, but like this fucking weasel has a fucking tax exempt status.
Right. Mind you, there's 2 states that have already prohibited Project Veritas from collecting donations, and New York is threatening to be the 3rd. Also, just for a fun fact,
where home base is, that's hilarious.
Yeah. And just, as the fun fact, O'Keefe actually apparently lied to the state of New York about tax when he filed his tax stuff because he omitted the information about his criminal conviction.
Yeah, with Mississippi, I think. Is it Mississippi that dropped him after the conviction?
I think. One of them was Utah, I believe. I don't remember what the other was. I think it might have been Mississippi. Something like that, anyway.
God, what is with like these alt-right Nazi trolls and just being just so like punchable?
I mean, that's why they end up being Nazi trolls.
Yeah, and like they have believers.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but everyone should know not to donate to Project Veritas.
Don't fucking believe anything that they say.
Seriously, as soon as you hear Project Veritas associated with something, assume it's bullshit, because it is.
Or if James O'Keefe's name is anywhere like near it,
yeah,
and it's not like a story about him being a fucking criminal,
right?
You like run away from it.
Because every single time they release something, it turns out to be bullshit.
Yeah, because that's his thing. Is like he like he illegally records people, he edits it, and then like dresses
It's
like
the shit out of it.
and then goes buys a fucking like I don't know, like a Party City like pimp costume to go promote it.
Yep. And then edits that so that it looks like he walked into the office dressed like that, even though he didn't.
Yeah. Ugh. And he's like only like 80 pounds soaking wet. He might have gained 20 pounds over Thanksgiving. I don't know. But he's like this little like I don't know, like this piece of, he's a chicken stick that needs to get like plucked to death. Not a fan.
So that's James O'Keefe in Project Veritas. Again, they suck. He sucks. He has a punchable face.
You just said that so much. You're like, he sucks, they suck. It's like almost like Eeyore a little bit.
It's some of the stuff about people like him is just beating me down. I mean, people like him need to just go away.
Forever.
Killing me. Next up, we can move on to talk about a protester here in the Boston area that ICE has decided to go after. A woman whose name I am going to horribly get wrong. Siham Bia?
Yeah.
Bia?
We'll spell it because it's hard to. So it's
SIHAMBYAH.
So yeah.
So, yes.
So she's a 40-year-old single mother. She's originally from Morocco. She's been living in the U.S. since 1999. And then I was reading like one of the articles when we first heard about the story before we were recording. It said that like in the early 2000s, there was she had gotten a deportation detainer against her, but like she somehow worked out this deal with immigration where she would get stays of her deportation if she just keeps checking in and like, gives, checks in yearly, gives the information. And she's been doing that since this, she worked.
2006?
I believe it was the more recent one where she started. I think it might have been the 2012 where she started doing that, but she'd been in contact with them.
Well, they said in the article that they said mid 2000s she worked out this deal and she's been checking in, and then she went to go check in to do the formality like she has been doing for years. And she thought that she would say, "Here, I'm."
Like tens of thousands of people in the U.S. are doing this all the time. Like there's literally tens of thousands of people in that same situation that have the approval that they check in periodically, and it's okay.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing we need to really stress is that being undocumented is not a crime. It's just a civil tort. It's like accidentally running over your friend's foot, and like she doesn't get hurt. It's
like jaywalking.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like it's
in a place where that's not a criminal offense.
Yeah, or like slipping and falling on someone's driveway. Like that's a civil tort. Like, so it's not a crime. So, so she's working on that, she's checking in and she went to go check in like she has been for years and she gets detained. But here's the thing in Massachusetts, the SJC, our highest court, said you cannot detain undocumented people on civil retainers in Massachusetts. They said it's unconstitutional. You are protected by the Massachusetts state constitution. You need to commit a crime, an actual crime, because misdemeanors don't always count. So a lot of They said that she had misdemeanors, but in actuality, she doesn't.
Like her lawyer actually outright just offered to hand over her Corey records
to everyone.
Even if she had misdemeanors, those don't necessarily make you a detainable.
Right. And ICE doesn't seem to care. They're still holding on.
And meanwhile, the Department of Families and Children has her 8-year-old son, who's a U.S. citizen, in their custody, and she can't see her son.
Yeah. So this is the kind of like the weird, quirky part with DCF is that he's only they took him into custody because she's retained. Still guardian, but she's also detained. So, but since he's a citizen, she's supposed to technically somehow coordinate a placement for him. So she's allowed to have control, or have say over where he should be placed because she didn't do anything wrong. She's not an unfit mother. There's no abuse. There's nothing against her. But the thing is, we don't know if she's got any way to coordinate this? Like, does she have access to a phone? Are they allowing her access to her attorney? Because there was this was kind of not similar, but like, you know, the young woman, she was actually 17. I think she's now 18. She was detained in Texas for the whole abortion thing. You know, they were like, well, you have to arrange all of the transportation, and she did. And they still wouldn't let her leave, even though she made all the arrangements like they told her that she had to do. So it's like, you know, this poor mother might have already made all these arrangements, but they somehow won't let her child be released.
So up here in New England, the New England office of ICE weren't even behind this. Supposedly, the order to hold her came straight from D.C., and nobody knows why.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so at this point, there are protests going on. She is being held at the ICE facility in Burlington, Massachusetts. There are Facebook pages. We will link to them. People should be showing up and helping out. And she has, the 8-year-old son that is currently in DCF custody, or DFC custody, and they need to be told...
it's still DCF. It's just...
Yeah, it's the same thing. And This needs some more coverage. It needs more people showing up. Again, there are protest events. There are call-outs. There are some donations needed for some things, I'm sure. So everyone check it out. We'll link to it at the end of this.
Yeah, and call like Maura Healey's office. Like, you know, because the SJC is ruled. You know, Maura Healey wants to protect undocumented. She has a right to be here. You know, she didn't do anything wrong. It's against the Massachusetts Constitution to detain for just for no reason. You know, there's no reason why she should be here. Especially
we'll link to how to do that too.
You know.
So I think that makes a pretty good episode this week here.
I
everyone.
will actually interject. We should mention
I don't get to do that on my own show.
So I'm just gonna take it over.
I'm just gonna say that the tax bill did not get voted on.
Yes, CNN has reported that it will not get voted on tonight. I guess as reported here on the CNN.
They would vote on it if they had the votes. So that is interesting.
The GOP leaders are grappling with how to satisfy deficit hawks. I guess they've got to feed them more mice.
Indeed. So we'll know more about that tomorrow. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here for episode 35. Check out all the wonderful social media callouts and everything else at the end of this, and sign up for Patreon if you want to help us get a little better equipment over here. And I don't know.
You can follow me on Twitter.
Just really, help Kayla out with a follow here and there. She seems to want them.
I like followers. I mean, not like real followers, like not in like real life, but like on Twitter, like at Avery Kayla. Yeah.
All right. So good night, everyone.
Thank you for listening. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GreggHoush Show and on Instagram at GreggHoush. If you like what you've heard and want to be a part of it, check out patreon.com/GreggHoush Show. In exchange for funding our programming, you gain access to exclusive content such as uncut editions of our podcast. We have new episodes every Thursday night. We hope you listen in. The GreggHoush Show was created by GreggHoush, executive produced by co-host Derek Gowrays, and co-hosted by Kayla Avery. Other contributors include producer and writer Anna Jeffrey, co-host producer David McGuffin, and writer-engineer Robert Tortora. Theme music for this show was produced and recorded by Geneva de Colbert. Our interns include co-host Casey McLaughlin, writer-engineer Alec Greeny, writer Maddie LoCicero, and associate producer, writer, and announcer William Kennedy. You're listening to New Revolutionary Radio, your call to action.